In the Imperium of Man, the mind is not just a tool, it's a weapon, a gateway, and sometimes a curse. Psykers are humanity's link to the warp, those rare individuals born with the ability to tap into an immaterium that defies reason, time, and physics. They can hurl fire with a thought, tear secrets from the skull, or glimpse possible futures, assuming they don't go insane, explode, or summon a demon in the process. But what actually makes a psyker? What's happening inside their brain? If brain is even the right word anymore. In this episode, we're peeling back the layers of flesh, mind, and soul to explore the neurobiology of a psyker. We'll examine what distinguishes a psychic mind from a normal one, how warp interaction alters brain chemistry and cognition, and why being gifted often means living with one foot in hell. Psykers are vital, dangerous, necessary, hunted by the Inquisition, feared by civilians, weaponized by the Imperium, and behind the glow of their eyes is a mind caught between worlds, sometimes cracking under the pressure. Because when your thoughts echo in the warp, you're never really thinking alone. What is a psyker? Psykers are not just mutants. They're not witches. And they're definitely not human in the way most of the Imperium understands the term. A psyker is an individual capable of directly interacting with the warp, a parallel dimension of raw, roiling emotion and psychic energy that underlies all of reality. Most humans go their entire lives unaware of the warp's presence. Psykers, they hear it, see it, feel it, sometimes too clearly. But this isn't magic. It's a terrifying form of evolution. Psykers are the next step in the psychic arms race between species. Humans tapping into something the Eldar once mastered, and the Tyranids now sense instinctively. The warp can be harnessed to achieve miraculous feats: telekinesis, telepathy, precognition, energy projection. And the stronger the psyker, the more reality bends to their will. But there's a cost. The warp is not empty. It is a sea of thought, and it's filled with predators. Every psyker is a glowing beacon to the entities that dwell there: demons, chaos gods, and other horrors beyond comprehension. To them, a psyker's mind is both food and gateway. One mistake, one moment of weakness, and the door swings wide open. That's why psykers are feared across the Imperium. Even the most devout civilian will gladly hand one over to the black ships, rather than risk a demonic incursion. Yet, despite the danger, psykers are absolutely necessary. Without them, astropaths couldn't communicate across the stars. The Emperor couldn't shine his Astronomicon. The Imperium's most powerful weapons, like battle psykers, librarians, and sanctioned witches, wouldn't exist. In short, no psykers, no Imperium. So the Imperium tolerates them, controls them, weaponizes them. Because to be a psyker is to be a paradox. Hated but essential, powerful but vulnerable, a walking miracle, and a ticking time bomb. The Psyker Brain. So what exactly happens inside the mind of a psyker? The answer is complex and terrifying. The Psyker Brain is fundamentally different from that of a normal human. At first glance, it appears larger, particularly in the frontal and parietal lobes, the regions responsible for cognition, memory, and spatial awareness. But the real difference lies not in the gray matter. but in how it connects. Psykers have a hyperdense neural lattice with synaptic pathways that fire at extreme speeds. Sensory input is heightened. Memory recall is often photographic. But most importantly, Psykers exhibit a unique organ, or perhaps anomaly, called the Imperium node, an unstable structure not present in baseline humans, believed to interface directly with the warp. This node allows the Psyker's consciousness to bleed into the immaterium, drawing raw energy into the mind where it is shaped by thought and emotion. The more powerful the Psyker, the stronger this resonance. But it comes at a cost. Constant exposure to the warp puts immense strain on the brain. Neural overactivity leads to seizures, migraines, hallucinations, and eventually, complete psychic burnout or possession. Even the most stable Psykers show abnormal EEG patterns. Sleep cycles become erratic. Brainwave activity continues even during unconsciousness. Many report voices, not metaphors, not symptoms, real voices whispering through the cracks between dimensions. Emotion plays a key role. The warp is shaped by feeling, and the Psyker's mind must remain disciplined. Fear, anger, sorrow, these can corrupt a psychic manifestation, or even trigger a backlash known as perils of the warp. At best, a nosebleed and a migraine. At worst, spontaneous combustion, or a daemon clawing its way into real space through the Psyker's skull. To survive, Psykers undergo brutal training, hypno-conditioning, and constant psychic suppression. Sanctioned Psykers of the Astra Telepathica, for example, are lobotomized, spiritually branded, and spiritually shackled. Librarians in the Adeptus Astartes train for decades to control their minds, because their gifts are too dangerous to go unchecked. And even then, no Psyker is ever truly safe, because their brain doesn't just think, it reaches, and sometimes something reaches back. The Psyker soul and the warp connection. If the brain is the engine of the Psyker, then the soul is the ignition key. You see, what makes a Psyker truly different isn't just brain chemistry or neuroplasticity. It's that their soul burns brighter than most. In the Warhammer 40K universe, the soul is a real, tangible force, a presence in the warp that echoes, resonates, and draws attention. For a Psyker, that resonance is amplified. Their soul is a beacon, an open channel, a flare screaming across the immaterium, and the warp listens. This is what allows a Psyker to perform what we call psychic powers. The soul acts as a bridge between the material world and the warp. Through this bridge, raw chaotic warp energy is drawn in, shaped by conscious will, and projected back into reality as fire, force, illusion, or insight. But the bridge works both ways, because the warp is not empty. It is alive, filled with predatory, semi-conscious entities drawn to the warmth of mortal souls. The Chaos Gods and their demons aren't just lurking, they're hungry, and the soul of a Psyker is a feast. This is why uncontrolled Psykers are so dangerous. If their will falters for even a moment during sleep, stress, or pain, the barrier between mind and warp can rupture. When that happens, it's called a peril of the warp. Sometimes it's a psychic feedback loop. Other times, it's a full-blown demonic incursion, using the Psyker's soul as a doorway into the material realm. It's also why the Imperium chains its Psykers in psychic hoods, null fields, and soul-bonded servitors. For the unsanctioned, the risk of possession is ever present. Even the sanctioned, those trained by the Scholastia Psychana, carry soul scars, memories, burns, or mutations from contact with warp entities. The strongest psychers, like astropaths, sanctioned battle psychers, and librarians, undergo soul-binding rituals, often with the Emperor himself. This process sears their soul to a greater power, offering a measure of protection, clarity, and sometimes terrible visions. Most do not survive the ritual. Those who do are forever changed. And then there are the nulls, the Psykers' antithesis, individuals with no warp presence, or even a soul so void that it cancels psychic phenomena. Their mere presence causes nausea in Psykers, disrupts warp powers, and repels demons. To a Psyker, a null is a black hole in the soul, a silence so deep it burns. In the end, the soul of a Psyker is both gift and curse, a light in the darkness, and a lightning rod for horrors beyond imagining. And in a galaxy drowning in war, chaos, and the psychic howls of 10,000 dying worlds, that light doesn't go unnoticed. How does the Imperium use Psykers? A Psyker is power incarnate, but in the Imperium of Man, power without control is heresy. Left to their own devices, Psykers are time bombs. They might tear a tank in half with their minds one day, then accidentally invite a demon prince into their bedroom the next. The Imperium learned early through horrific tragedy that Psykers must be contained, conditioned, or cleansed. That's where the Adeptus Astra Telepathica comes in. Every year, sanctioned agents scour Imperial worlds for signs of psychic potential. These blanks, witches, and untouchables are rounded up, willing or not, and loaded onto the black ships, massive, silent vessels that roam the galaxy collecting Psykers for processing. Most never return. Once aboard, the Psykers are tested, screened, and judged. The weak are sacrificed to the Golden Throne, fueling the Emperor's Astronomicon, a psychic beacon that makes warp travel possible. Their souls die, screaming in service of mankind. It's not called mercy. It's called necessity. Those who survive the trials may be sanctioned, branded, bound, and trained under constant psychic surveillance. Some become astropaths, soul-bound to the Emperor through a mind-shattering ritual that grants long-distance telepathic communication. Others become sanctioned Psykers, deployed to Imperial Guard regiments as living weapons. Still others find themselves in the hands of the Inquisition, used as seers, interrogators, or sacrificial bait in warp experiments. And the most elite, they become librarians within the Adeptus Astartes, trained to harness their powers for war, shield their minds from the warp, and carry the psychic legacy of their chapters into battle. But even the strongest Psykers are never trusted. They wear collars, psychic dampeners, and explosive failsafes. Their thoughts are monitored, their dreams are filtered. Some are accompanied at all times by blanks or sisters of silence, just in case they start glowing unexpectedly. The Imperium doesn't revere Psykers, it uses them, burns them like fuel, keeps them close, but never too close. Because history has proven time and again that one uncontrolled Psyker is all it takes to doom a world. And in the grim darkness of the far future, nobody can afford that. Outro. To be a Psyker is to walk a razor's edge between miracle and monstrosity. Inside their skulls, the warp churns and flickers. Their thoughts are lightning, Their souls burn like beacons in the void. They can save cities, devastate armies, or unravel reality, sometimes all at once. And yet, for all their power, they are the most fragile minds in the galaxy. They are feared, hunted, weaponized, worshipped, and executed in the same breath. To the Imperium, Psykers are a necessary horror. To the warp, they are open wounds. And to themselves, they are rarely whole for long. Behind the fire, behind the force, behind the eyes glowing with unnatural power, lies a truth the Imperium rarely admits. These are minds on fire, burning not for glory, just to survive. And in the end, whether they fall to madness, martyrdom, or worse, it's never really their choice.